Hey there, welcome back to another vlog. Today we're heading to Hampton Court Palace for a very special day because we came to see some jousting. We took the train to Hampton Court, which is actually a pretty quick journey, and from the station it was only about a 5-minute walk to the palace gates. We were very excited for this one, especially because we had planned our visit around the medieval show. We went straight through the gardens toward the jousting court. The palace itself is so beautiful, with these incredible ornate ceilings and so much history around every corner. On the way to the garden, we also passed through the iconic fountain court, which is one of the most recognizable part of the palace. And we got the timing just right because as soon as we arrived, the medieval show was ready to start, so we found a spot in the shade next to the tree line and settled in for the show. The knights were competing for Henry VIII, and it started with some hand-to-hand fighting before moving on to the part where you had really come to see the jousting. The horses were absolutely beautiful, and seeing the knights riding toward each other at full speed made the whole thing feel very dramatic. The show lasted around 30 minutes and was genuinely so entertaining, it was definitely worth planning our visit around. While we waited for the Falconry Show, we grabbed an iced coffee and found a nice spot under the tree, and we just sat there for a while looking out over the great fountain garden. Then it was time for the Falconry Show. I really enjoyed this part because we got to learn more about the birds of prey we were seeing, as well as how they would have been used during the 15th century. And it was so impressive watching them fly. Seeing the birds swoop through the garden and fly back to their handler was definitely one of my favorite part of the day. After the shows, we were ready to explore the palace itself. Hampton Court is actually a really interesting place because it feels almost like two palaces in one. The oldest parts are the Tudor Palace associated with Henry VIII, while the Baroque side was created much later for William III and Mary II. We headed inside and started with the Great Hall. It's probably one of the most impressive rooms in the Tudor part of the Hampton Court. It was built for Henry VIII in the 1530s and was designed to impress, which definitely still works today. From the Great Hall, then continued through Henry VIII's apartment. This was one of the parts I was most curious to see because this is where you really start getting a sense of what life inside the Tudor court would have been like. The apartment we visited are actually reconstruction because this particular wing was damaged by fire, so the rooms are replicas based on what the interior would have looked like. And Hampton Court is particularly interesting because all 6 of Erin's wives visited the palace at different points, so when you walk through this room, there's a lot of history attached to them beyond Henry VIII himself. We continue through the apartments toward the Royal Chapel, which has been in continuous use for centuries. This was such a beautiful part of the visit, especially with the music playing while we were there. At this point, we were ready for some lunch, so we headed to the cafe, which I believe is located in what used to be part of the old kitchen area. We both went for pie. It was pretty warm day for it, but somehow it felt like the right choice for a day of medieval shows and jousting. After lunch, we moved over to the Baroque side of the palace, and this is where the atmosphere changes quite dramatically. The Tudor side has all these dark timber beams, courtyards, and medieval details, whereas the Baroque apartments feel much more grand and theatrical. We started with William's third apartments. These rooms were part of the new palace that William commissioned with Christopher Wren after he and Mary II came to the throne in 1689. From there, we went through the state apartments, including the guard chamber and the presence chamber. The guard chamber would have been where the yeomen of the guard were stationed, while the presence chamber was essentially the king's official reception room. We then continued through the apartments, and I really like seeing the contrast between these rooms and the Tudor section we had explored earlier. There are much more elaborate painted ceilings and decorative details, and the room feels much more formal. It's quite fascinating walking through Hampton Court and seeing these different periods side by side. You can go from the Tudor Palace with its huge great hall and medieval atmosphere straight into the world of William III and the Baroque Court. We finished our day at Hampton Court with a visit to the gift shop, which had so many cute things on display. There were plenty of tempting little souvenirs, so of course we had to have a look around before heading home. And that was our day at Hampton Court Palace. It was such a fun day out, and I would definitely recommend visiting when the medieval events are on especially. I hope you enjoy coming along, and I will see you in the next video.